Hello and welcome to program News at 7, where every story shapes a world. I'm your host Manu Qureshi. Let's have a look on the top stories we'll be discussing tonight. Pakistan and Jordan reaffirms the commitment to enhance their strategic and economic ties and expand mutually benefit collaboration at regional and international forums. Russia offers to mediate between Pakistan and Afghanistan to ease rising tensions, stressing that a lasting resolution to disputes is only possible through dialogue and negotiations. Kashmir remains an internationally recognized unresolved dispute, seek international mediation. Those are the top stories we are going to discuss tonight, and we'll start with the Jordanian king visit to Pakistan, where King Abdullah II of Jordan is on two-day state visit to Pakistan, where he was warmly welcomed by President Asif Ali Zardari and Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif. During the visit, both sides discussed the full range of bilateral relationship, including political, economic and cultural cooperation. And in their meeting, Pakistan and Jordan reaffirmed a zero-tolerance policy towards any forced displacement to Palestine and agreed on strengthening the coordination with 8 Muslim countries on the Gaza peace plan. Beyond the Gaza crisis, the visit also reflects growing strategic partnership between the two states, and different MOUs have been signed between the two states, including education, defense and media cooperation. So to talk about that, we are joined by a former ambassador, Mr. Johar Salim. Mr. Johar, welcome to the show. And I'll obviously talk about the significance of this coordination, because we have seen that it is such an important event at a very important time, where we have seen Pakistan is facing some crisis with the neighboring states. We have seen that the behavior of our neighboring states, including India, including Afghanistan. So to talk about that, we are joined by the former ambassador, Mr. Johar Salim. Mr. Johar, I'll start with the significance of this coordination. When we talk about the Arab Islamic countries, so how significant this coordination among the 8 Arab Islamic countries when it comes to Gaza peace plan?
Well, Pakistan is one of the 8 countries, as you know, which have backed President Trump's 20-point peace plan, but of course, with certain caveats. Pakistan is one of the most important Muslim countries in the world because of its population, because of its strategic location, because of its being a nuclear power, because of its very strong diplomacy. That is why Pakistan has been involved in the consultations for this very important issue. And that is not just about the Gaza conflict, but rather about the self-determination of the Palestinian people itself. And Pakistan has been very clear on that. We support this two-state solution. We believe that the Palestinians have the right to a sovereign state. They have a right to self-determination, as the Kashmiris have in the illegally occupied India and illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. In India, so we have seen in recent weeks and months that Pakistan has been consulted by President Trump, by many of the Arab countries, some of the most important players, for instance, Egypt. Now we see Jordan, the King of Jordan is here. We see, of course, Qatar. Qatar is one of the countries very much involved in that. And again, Pakistan has a very close coordination with Qatar. Then again, with Turkey as well. Turkey, again, has been involved in these consultations alongside Pakistan. So we believe that it's very important that all the frontline Muslim countries, and frontline in terms of the importance of frontline in terms of how much they get involved in international issues. They should support the Palestinians at such a critical juncture of their quest for their right to self-determination. The world watched for the last 2 years The world witnessed
Exactly.
what happened in Palestine. The world spoke about that. But there are very few countries which actively participated in the deliberations, and Pakistan is one of those countries. And that is why it is important that the coordination, the consultation amongst uh, all those countries, including Pakistan, continues, sustains, and helps move the things in the right direction.
All right. So, as you have already mentioned that Pakistan has been contacted by the leadership across the globe. So, I'll ask you the next question about the Pakistan's diplomatic weight. How do you feel like how much significant Pakistan's coordination with the Jordan and the other Muslim states when it comes to Gaza peace plan?
But like I said, it's very significant. Because this is even now, this issue is there's a ceasefire. In principle, the 20-point plan has been accepted by the two sides, um, Israel and on the other side, Hamas. But only the first phase, as we know, which was basically the exchange of hostages and the prisoners with the Israelis, that has been completed more or less, although with some caveats. Um, with the second phase, whereby the demilitarization has to take place and the Israeli withdrawal has to take place, that has run into problems as we see. What the situation currently is that about 53% of Gaza is still under Israel's military control. The other 47% is a yellow line, so the so-called yellow line, which separates the two sides at this point in time. But the modalities that have been agreed upon by the two sides, and of course all the facilitators, mediators, and guarantors, primarily the United States, which call for a disarmament of Hamas on the one hand, de-radicalization of Gaza in terms of what the Israeli demand was, but also Israeli withdrawal, and also for for some sort of a technocratic setup, in interim setup, that is, which would be run by the Palestinians and then support by the some international peacekeepers, so that the second phase, whereby the most important element is the relief and and the assistance that is required, which has commenced partially, but there's so much which needs to be done there. There's still a famine-like condition there. Like the recent reports you might have seen, they are harrowing in terms of what is required there, what is the current state of affairs, and how much assistance, relief assistance that is required. And then, of course, will come rehabilitation. But for that, there are certain conditions which need to be met. But so far, we haven't really seen things moving towards those conditions. For instance, ever since the ceasefire, we've seen Israeli strikes continuing. We have also seen fighting breaking out between Hamas and some other groups within the Palestinians. Domash, for instance, they've been fighting with the Hamas. We haven't really seen a very serious intent in terms of demilitarization. We haven't really seen any coalescing of um, a consensus for the conditions that would basically that could help invite the peacekeepers, international peacekeepers. We haven't really seen a huge surge in relief assistance as is required, and the ceasefire presently it's very fragile. Like the way things are going, things could really break down again, and that is why it's so very important that the countries involved, as facilitators, as mediators, as guarantors, they keep on consulting amongst themselves. They keep on nudging the two parties. They keep on like playing their part to keep the things in place and ensure that there's there's no return to what the world witnessed. Because Gaza, 90% buildings destroyed. There's no semblance of like health facilities. There's a famine-like condition, no water, and so no electricity. I mean, the state of affairs there is existing there require a massive intervention by the world community, but that can only happen when the peace survives, if the fighting breaks out again in a big way, which it can, unfortunately, at any point in time, as the things are going, unless, like the facilitators and the guarantors, they are able to, which they're trying. I think it's really a constant struggle against time. They're trying their best to keep the things sort of, on track somehow, despite all the pressures from within Israel, and also from sort of, some of the infighting that is taking place, sort of, between the like Hamas and other groups there. We witnessed some protests against them as well. So it's a very very volatile situation there, and that is why I think role of the countries such as Pakistan, which are important players, um, continues to be important. Um, and I believe that um, this visit by the King of Jordan is a manifestation of sort of, that desire to keep Pakistan in the loop, to keep consulting Pakistan, and to build that sort of, consensus which is required to make things move forward in the right direction.
Your point is well taken. Mr. Joy will talk about the groups like Palestinian Authority and Hamas as well. But how does Pakistan support for a UN resolution, especially for Gaza, obviously enhance its global profile? Because all the Muslim countries are coming together for mediation, for peace plans. So how does it would enhance Pakistan's position in the world? Like all Muslim world
Look,
is,
Pakistan,
coming together
yeah,
for that.
Pakistan is the fifth largest country in the world in terms of population. Pakistan is a nuclear state. Pakistan is also currently the United Nations Security Council member, a non-permanent one. Pakistan holds a very significant place in the Committee of Nations. And Pakistan is known for its sort of, role in building peace and stability, not only in its own region, but in other regions of the world, and especially sort of, in the Middle East, especially in terms of the Palestinian conflict. In fact, Pakistan has been sort of, since decades, Pakistan has been sort of, involved, and Pakistan has been supporting the peace processes there. And Pakistan has been sort of, like taking a very consistent position, sort of, on the right of self-determination of the Palestinians. And that is why I think Pakistan is not sort of, like getting involved or has been involved in this issue because of any sort of, reasons of diplomatic profile. It is because, it is one of the, like, one of the principles of our foreign policy that Pakistan would, and we have done that in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, wherever there was a need for sort of, like playing a role, a constructive role in building peace and stability, Pakistan has been at the forefront. And wherever there have been sort of, like struggles for the right of self-determination, whether that happened in the former colonies or in Africa, there are many, many examples of that, or whether in case of Palestine, or whether in case of illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, Pakistan has always been there because, we take it as a principle of our foreign policy, and especially in terms of sort of, the Muslim causes, the relations with Muslim countries, that has always been sort of, of great significance for Pakistan. Um, so I think it's not a question of diplomatic profile, but rather it's a question of what we believe in. It's a question of sort of, like the way we see our country, sort of, in the international affairs. We see ourselves as a factor for peace and stability, not just in our own region, but sort of, in the regions, sort of, beyond South Asia. And there has been a great history of Pakistan's contribution to sort of, wherever there's a need to defuse crises, or wherever there's a need, for instance, in terms of peacekeeping, United Nations peacekeeping operations, Pakistan has been one of the countries with the most significant contributions. Uh, Perhaps I would say the most significant of all the countries in the world. And that was also very clearly sort of reflects sort of, Pakistan's um, our ideals, our sort of, our foreign policy values. So I see it in that perspective.
All right, and right now we have seen that the Jordanian king visited Global Industrial and Defense Solution and appreciated the high standards there, appreciated the professionalism. So how much it is significant in the current geopolitical situation, especially for Pakistan?
Well, Jordanian king, it is probably like after two decades that a Jordanian monarch has visited Pakistan. And, like there's been a keen desire on both sides. We enjoy fraternal ties with Jordan. Historically, sort of, the two nations have been very close. There has been significant defense cooperation between the two countries. There have been times where Pakistani military contingents have been posted there. There have been a lot of Jordanian officers trained in Pakistani sort of divisions, and sort of there also is sort of a great deal of cooperation in the areas of trade, in the areas of education, sort of and we are trying to build that now. Like if you notice, during this visit, some very significant MOUs have been signed. One in the field of education, one in the field of media cooperation, another in the field of cultural cooperation. And Pakistan is also setting up a Pakistan chair in the University of Jordan. And also the trade between the two countries, which is, I think it's not commensurate with the potential yet. It's just about $60 million or so. And it's heavily sort of, in favor of Pakistan for most part. Like last year, our exports were to the tune of about $50 million, while Jordanian exports to Pakistan were like 10 or $12 million. I mean, the point is not that it's sort of, in our favor in terms of trade surplus. The point is that there is a significant trade, but the potential to increase that is much more. And both sides are keen to work towards that. Then again, in terms of our cooperation in international fora, we have a great tradition and we want to carry forward this tradition. When the two countries speak with one voice on this Palestine issue, of course, the world watches and listens. That is why, and Pakistan is not only.
Mr. Johar, we have discussed about the MOUs being signed during this visit, and we have talked about the Gaza peace plan. Now we have seen that United Nations Security Council is having two plans on the table. One is from the Russia and the other one is from President Trump. How do you see it? I just want your brief remarks on it.
Well, President Trump's plan, which was the 20-point plan, I think it has seen a lot of support from very many countries, and particularly those 8 Muslim countries, which are like perhaps the most significant Muslim countries in the world in terms of population, in terms of their economies, in terms of their geostrategic location. So that is there, but of course Pakistan welcomes all endeavors. Pakistan welcomes all initiatives from Russia is a major country. Russia is, it's still a great power, and of course, if it can contribute positively to the to peace and building peace and stability, and positively in terms of the cementing the the endeavors for going on for a roadmap towards the right of self-determination of the Palestinians, then of course Pakistan would welcome that. We don't really see it as a competition. We would rather see it as the aspiration everywhere in the world to, first of all, to see the situation in Gaza improving, to see peace returning there, and then, of course, to see a roadmap towards the two-state solution, because everybody wants to see a long terms to see a solution whereby the Palestinians get the right which has been denied to them for now 7 or 8 decades. And we know the position that Russia has on that. We know the position that China has on that, and most of the countries in the world. You know how many countries in the UN in the last 2 years recognized the Palestinian state? Now, there are very few countries left in the world who have not formally recognized the Palestinian state. Even the most of the Western European countries, which were considered very strong allies of Israel, even they broke rank and recognized the Palestinian
Thank you so much,
Muslims.
Mr. Johar Salim, for joining us tonight. Your point is well taken. Thank you so much. We were joined by former Ambassador Mr. Johar Salim, who was talking about the significance of Jordanian King's visit to Pakistan. We have talked about the MOUs being signed and especially the zero tolerance policy of both the countries, Pakistan and Jordan, regarding the displacement of Palestinians. And now we are moving forward to another very important topic where we have seen that Russia has stepped forward with a significant offer and it is ready to mediate between Pakistan and Afghanistan, and both countries have already gone through. We have seen that several rounds of peace talks where Afghanistan remained reluctant to sign a written agreement, while Pakistan clearly stated that trade and travel links with obviously Kabul depends upon their treatment against TTP. Now, with Russia offering to play a mediating role in it, Foreign Ministry spokesperson has mentioned that regional stability is their top priority. So let's dig into it, that what is this development could mean for the regional security, counter-terrorism, and obviously for Pakistan. And for this we are joined by Brigadier retired Haris. He's the defense analyst. Brigadier Haris, welcome to the show. And obviously we'll start with that, how we can see the Russia's help could mediate talks between Pakistan and Afghanistan, because we have already gone through a number of peace talks and they were failed.
I think that there is no harm. We always welcome anybody who offers negotiation between Pakistan and Afghan Taliban regime. And then, Russia has an influence in Afghanistan because that's the only country they have recognized Afghanistan as on a diplomatic front. And then, of course, they have the interest, and they're in the region also. I would say Pakistan, China, Iran, and Russia, if they put pressure on Afghanistan Taliban regime, then they will understand the need for peace in this region and their result. So I think that should be possible, and I would expect always that Pakistan would expect and Pakistan should welcome this move from Russian side. But I think more important is that Pakistan need to tell Iran and Russia and China that Pakistan believe in peace. We want peace with Afghanistan, but not at the cost of life and property of the Pakistani people along with the territorial boundaries of Pakistan, because that is the prime responsibility of Pakistan Armed Forces, which is under oath. So that is very clear, and we want no further escalation. But I feel whatever has happened in Wana area, South Pakistan, when they attacked our cadet college, I take it as an attack on Pakistan, and Pakistan must punish all those perpetrators along with the planners, executors who are in Afghanistan, and we know their location, we know who all are there, and they must be punished so that it acts as a deterrent for others not to do it. Otherwise, if we keep quiet on this issue, then I think that they will be encouraged to do more activities, because the way what happened in 2014 when they attacked an APS school, and I think they were the big Saniha, and likewise I feel this could have been very catastrophic had not Pakistani armed forces shown a lot of professionalism, and then they ensured there was no casualty to cadets 550 along this faculty member, though they suffered few casualties as the military operations are concerned. In that context, I feel Russia or Iran or China, whosoever want to mediate, Pakistan will always welcome. We want that people of Afghanistan should not suffer. They've already gone through a lot of miseries, and we are not against people of Afghanistan. We just feel that the illegitimate government of Afghanistan, the Taliban, they should realize, because it is political non-inclusive government. It's not that it's acting balanced government. So people of Afghanistan should feel, do they want to bring at their own some change in that government? They want to bring democratic change. It's their right. That is their own internal matter. But I think they have to think on it, because Afghan Taliban regime has no regard for community of nations. They have not established any diplomatic relation with any country of the world. That speaks of their concern with the diplomatic community of nations. Neither they have followed any sorts of human rights violations. Then, of course, the rights of women. Then they don't bother about the people, how they're going through the miserable life. And again, they want, if we go for airstrike attack, the people of Afghanistan are going to suffer. And that's what we don't want it. That way, if we have to go for small little operations towards sorting out these people who attacked cadet college, but otherwise, Pakistan will give again a chance to peace and be ready for peace.
That's the important point, that they are not the true representatives, they are not the democratic elected representatives of the state, and now we have seen that the people of Afghanistan are suffering due to their own Taliban regime. So what do you think, that we have seen that Qatar and Turkey mediated the talks previously. Can Russia mediation be more effective than Qatar and Turkey's previously efforts, or do you think that it would be same like that, because one party is not ready to accept any kind of offer, that not ready to accept any kind of trade concessions or any offer we are giving to them. So do you really think that it would be more effective?
I think Russia has more influence because they have recognized the Taliban regime. And then, of course, through Central Asia, they have a lot of influence over there. And if Russia gets annoyed with them and if this side Pakistan and Iran, they stop giving them support, then so where they will get the support. The Central Asian countries are under the influence of Russia. And this side, Iran and Pakistan, if they feel that Afghanistan is not cooperating, then they are in big trouble. But China has to play a very important role because China is getting a lot of money in the middle, taking on from Afghanistan, and they give a lot of money to Afghan government to run their routine work. Likewise, America is also giving a lot of money, $40,000 per week they are giving them out of the $9 billion which had been frozen by them. So this Pakistan has to go for multi-pronged strategy. We have to go for small operations in case they do cross-border terrorism, the way they're going to attack Wana and Cadet College. Along with this, Russia, Iran, China, they have to take the process. Turkey and Qatar is there, and also we push Americans also, because they've left $7.2 billion weapons and ammunition, and then they can push Indian also to stop supporting these proxies which are Faris. So that all combined effort has to be done to force Afghan Taliban to understand the importance of living peacefully with the neighbors. That neighbor, which are the religion cooperation with each other, we have the cultural relationship with the Pashtun both sides living together. We give more logistic support, we give more for money transfer. So these things are very, very important for them.
All right, so we have already seen that obviously the attitude of Taliban regime in Moscow format consultations. We have seen Taliban assured us that they would not allow anyone to use their soil against neighbors, but they are still doing that. How can we be so much confident this time the Taliban regime will stand by on what they have, they will commit obviously through the negotiations by Russia?
You see, Pakistan has to sort them out. Whatever they have done in Cadet College, we must punish those planners and executors. When we go and punish them, you see, last time you remember when we went to the Patkia, where Gul Bahadur people were there and we attacked and we killed around 67 Faujis. They raised their flags and they wanted to go for a peace ceasefire. Likewise, they understand the language of strength. We have to negotiate on very high moral grounds, on the point of strength, and that is possible only when they request that they need ceasefire, they request they raise white flag, and they want to negotiate. That is the time they will understand, because they need a strong country. If Pakistan really sort them out, particularly the way if they cross for terrorism and we go for the target through our these air strikes, or we go for drone attacks, then they will understand and they will talk to our mediator that, okay, we want to go for peace talks. So they understand this language.
That's very important, that we should stand on the high moral grounds. On one hand, we are offering them the concessions. On the other hand, we know how to protect our borders and our boundaries and the people in Pakistan, as we have already mentioned that we are obviously preferring human lives over our economic benefit. Thank you so much, Brigadier Retired Haris, for joining us tonight. Brigadier Haris was with us. He was talking about the Russian offer for the mediation between Afghanistan and Pakistan, and we were discussing about that. Obviously, a very important time where we have seen the involvement of India in Afghanistan. Afghanistan soil is being used by the other parties to obviously disturb the peace and stability of the region, and we have seen that Pakistan remained calm, and Pakistan remained firm in its stance that any kind of travel and trade links with Afghanistan depends on their treatment with TTP, and we won't let anyone use their land obviously against us. We know how to protect ourselves and how to protect our people, and we were discussing about that with Brigadier Retired Haris, who is the defense analyst, and now we'll move towards the Kashmir issue right after a short break. Welcome back to program News at 7. Now moving towards a long-standing unresolved dispute, that is Kashmir issue. We all know that Pakistan and Afghanistan search for stability through dialogue, but there is another co-regional issue that remains unresolved, that is Kashmir issue. Any conversation on South Asian peace and security is totally incomplete without addressing this long-standing Kashmir dispute, which continues to shape the regional tensions and diplomatic priorities. To talk about that, we are joined by Ali Raza Syed. He is the chairperson of Kashmir Council, European Union. Ali Raza Syed, welcome to the show. I'll start with that. How can Pakistan continue to raise the Kashmir issue on international platforms effectively, like you are doing on European Union? Like how we can do it continuously and especially in current situation while the international partners are coming, international community is coming for the mediation?
Thank you very much for having me the most important for the Pakistan and for the people of Jammu and Kashmir. And I think that after the May 10th, Pakistan has an opportunity to present and to convey the message of voiceless Kashmiris to the international community. And that is a very good time to launch a diplomatic efforts in European Union and in the world, because this is the time when the people are listening to us. Before 10th of May, they were not listening, but now the time, the situation is completely changed after the Markai Haq, and I think this is the opportunity we should avail it, and we should forcefully launch the diplomatic initiative. And especially, I will request the government of Pakistan to have the Kashmiri people, Kashmiri representatives, to send into the embassies in Islamabad and send the delegation of Kashmiri people led by Kashmiris. And I think it is the right time to convey the message what the Indian Modi government is doing in occupied Jammu and Kashmir, and what the people of world, they are thinking about Modi's policies towards Kashmir.
And do you think that should any neutral international actor or organization intervene to mediate the Kashmir conflict?
That is the only way, because Pakistan is saying for last 70 years to sit on the table and discuss. And there are three parties, the Kashmiris, Pakistanis and Indians. So this is the only way to have the peace, permanent peace in Southeast Asia. And until and unless the Kashmiris are not involved, until and unless the issue is not addressed, I think the permanent peace.
All right.
Yes.
All right. So, what do you think that how might you have already talked about the recent developments about the Markai Haq? So, how might the recent developments, especially regional politics, impact the Kashmir situation and Pakistan-India relationship with regards to it?
I think this is, again, I will say, it is an opportunity for Pakistani government and for the people of Jammu and Kashmir, especially if we sincerely launched an offensive, diplomatic offensive to resolve this issue. And this issue cannot be solved unless the people of Kashmir, they are included in that. And as for the wishes of the people of Jammu and Kashmir, it should be, I think there is nothing impossible. Everything is possible, but it needs to be commitment from the negotiators, from the Kashmiri perspective, Indian and Pakistani perspective.
So, what do you think that who would play this role responsibly, and especially when it comes to Kashmir issue? What do you think that who would be the right mediator for the Kashmir conflict?
What I mean is the people's representative. So it depends on the people of Azad Kashmir or people of occupied Jammu and Kashmir who can discuss, who can decide about their future. And but we need the third party. We need international neutral power in that. If US is ready to participate, Russia, China, or any other powers who are interested in the peace in this region, they have to have the pressure on Modi government that they cannot find the peace until and unless the people of Kashmir, their voices are not heard. And for the region, for India, for Pakistan, and for whole region, the prosperity will not come until the issue of Kashmir is not resolved.
We have seen that the people living in Azad Kashmir, they are having all kind of facilities, they are moving freely, they have all the freedoms of life. But when it comes to the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, we have seen their atrocities. And after the abrogation of Article 370 and 35A in Kashmir, the special status has removed. And we have seen how they are living, in such kind of condition they are living. They cannot study, they cannot work, obviously they cannot live according to their own will. So how much it is important for the international community to understand the severity of the issue, because Pakistan is trying hard on every platform. We are trying to raise this issue, but still it remained unheard.
It depends what is your strategy, how you want to portray the issue of Kashmir to in front of international community. There are a lot of ways to do that, but it depends on the strategists. They sit together and find a permanent policy and a permanent push for that issue. If we do only for 1 week, 2 week, 1 month, that's not enough. That is not be heard. Only the way to convey is a long-term strategy. And what Indian government is doing in Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir, everybody knows. Now the international media is talking. Even the European newspapers, they are talking about. But problem is that how we present this case to the international community and how we can convey the message of oppressed people of Indian Jammu and Kashmir. And for that, other friends, we have introduced a book, pictorial book, to the international community, which was launched in Prépignon, France. And that is the way to convey the message and to reach the international community and reach the power corridors and reach those who are deciding about the future of the world.
All right, Mr. Ali, you are chairing the Kashmir Council in European Union. How much such platforms are important, especially for the Kashmiri people or the Kashmiri representatives, to highlight the Kashmir issue, in front of the world?
It's very important. The victim could be heard by the international community, but we have to. I insist for a long time that any delegation which is going out, it should be represented by the Kashmiri people and led by a Kashmiri, and then you will see the result from the international community, result from the power corridors, that the Kashmiri, the victims, they are coming to them asking the help.
All right. So obviously you are chairing Kashmir Council in European Union, and according to UFOLab, we have seen that there was a report that Indian media is propagating fake news, misinformation, disinformation. So obviously Kashmiris are unheard because internet facility is restricted there. They are still restricted to 2G in few places. Most of the places are not having the internet connections. So how much you can do about it to make them heard, because obviously they don't have internet connections, they cannot talk what they are going through, and obviously the Pakistan and other media and the international media is highlighting it. But what can be done in this regard?
I think in this world at this time, how the world is moving, you have the people on the ground in Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Okay, They like, Khurram Parvez, 5 years now in jail. But we started campaign for his release. For other political leaders like Yasin Malik, Shabir Ahmed Shah, Asiya Andrabi, and others, we are campaigning for them. But the issue is that the people.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ali Raza Syed, for joining us. We were joined by Mr. Ali Raza Syed, who's the chairperson of Kashmir Council in European Union. In today's news at 7, we have talked about the Jordanian king's visit to Pakistan. We had talked about the MOUs being signed and obviously the zero tolerance policy of Pakistan and Jordan regarding the displacement of Palestinians. And then we have talked about Russian offer to mediate between Pakistan and Afghanistan, where we have seen that Pakistan is offering trade concession to Afghanistan, but Afghanistan is not ready to sign any written agreement. Then we have talked about the long-standing unresolved issue, that is Kashmir issue. And that's it from today's news at 7. This is your host Manur Qureshi signing off with the hope that peace would prevail in the state. Take care.